Great job, you guys. Just take a deep breath, and we're going to just come back into awareness with each other here. It's some powerful full moon connection. And as you're just coming back into presence, I'm just going to start to talk about the gene key that we're in a little bit right now, just to kind of help bring you guys a little bit more and more present. So within this, let's look. Chaylee here is saying that her computer went wonky as soon as we started talking about the moon. Yeah, and the voice cut out and started saying something about human DNA. Yes, I love that. So just an awareness again. This is again another level of our discernment, and I kept asking the guides if it was appropriate to do seal and implant removal with the group today, but they were saying not today, not today. Everyone's a little afraid and a little raw right now, so that would be a little bit much. But that this is something I will probably do with the group maybe on Thursday. But this level of discernment to understand that we all have different ways in which we are acting out our ambassadorship upon the earth. How are we enacting? Each of us is having different downloads from our guardians, the councils that are working with us, your guides. Each of us are having a different download of how we can be in service in this lifetime. And there are some of you within the group that are definitely here to deal with some of the darker stuff. So this is why when you guys, we go through our soul circles, sometimes they're light and fluffy, and sometimes we get into some of the emotional shadow work. And sometimes we actually get into the really deep arcanic stuff, some of the multidimensional and the galactic historical stuff that's happening on the planet. And it is really kind of a difficult weave to work with because it's really showing how dynamic we are, But in the end, you're going to hear me always say it over and over, unless they tell me something else. But no matter which level of these things we're working with, it's always about coming back to the heart with love. So that's our anchor point with all of these things, whether we're talking about dealing with shadow work, whether we're talking about some intense and sometimes very uncomfortable galactic historical timelines and things we might have gone through, or sometimes if we're talking about working with new levels of techniques, that they're all going to be different, but all of them are going to have the common thread within the heart. So I want to just mention, because I know you know who you are within the group. We've done sessions, we've talked about these things, you deal with it in your dreams, your computer shut out, right? Whenever we are having to sometimes be the ones that are walking through some of these darker dimensional places, and I don't want to say darker as in good or bad, it's just these are places that have more distortion geometry operating within them. And when we go into these distortion fields, what we're bringing in is we are the light code toolbox. So you're carrying inside of you the repair geometry, the missing geometry or the missing filaments that are needed in some of those places. And you go in there with those codes. And when you go in there with those codes, guess what? There's a ton of archonic and other beings in there that say, go away, I don't want you here. I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to make you fall asleep. I'm going to make you dizzy. I'm going to make you start dropping things. I'm going to shut your computer down. I'm going to make something be distracted in your life so that you get the heck out of here and you leave me alone. Don't touch my distorted geometry because it's how I'm fulfilling my needs or getting power or operating. So a lot of these beings have been hunky-dory just fine in these different dimensional realms, operating off of this distorted geometry for millennia, millions of years, some places billions of years. And we come in with our little new eager soul energy that says, I'm going to change the world. I've learned some things and I'm fixing it all now. And guess what? We get knocked down a few times because a lot of times what we're doing is we're marching in there by ourselves. We forgot our whole soul team. We forgot all the guardians. We forgot to bring our soul family with us. So again, this is not something we want to be the superhero. We're not here to save. We're not saviors. Remember, that's one of the massive programs we're deleting on this planet is the savior program. That is one of the worst programs that was put into our consciousness to keep us separated from our power and our divinity. Is thinking that there needs to be someone to save X, Y, or Z, save us, save others, save the world, or that we have to be the rescue ranger and save everybody, right? So I'm sorry, I know every single one of you here has worn the rescue ranger badge in this lifetime. Let's own it and then let's change it, because again, we're here to not do it alone. And when we learn to ask for help, we actually start to be that anchor for others to actually know that we're not alone, which starts to delete that program in us, right? And as we start to do that, we actually start to invite ourselves to become humble into the discernment of our higher counsel in order to begin to slow our horses down a lot of times into how we're going to go marching in and change everything now. And we really find a lot of softness in this. It's really beautiful to come back into really realizing we don't have to do this alone. We don't have to figure things out all by ourselves. So when we go into these realms where we start to connect with these other templates or things that have been happening, say the stuff that has been going on with the moon, it's still not fully repaired. So this is where we're still working with this. Things don't just magically all of a sudden, oh, the Stargate's all better now. These are things that have been distorted for so long that the ripple effect has to actually kick into place with a lot of these. And so part of what we're being called to do is to continuously manage the lunar frequencies that are emanating to the earth so that we keep catching any of these hijacked codes that are emanated in here in order to destruct the consciousness of humanity. And we notice this when we start to go wonky. Again, this is back to the only thing you got to do is be mindful of yourself. Watch yourself. If your world starts to go crazy and wonky, you can know full on it's an amplified template that's happening on the earth, but your place to catch it is within yourself. Where did this originate? Where did this come from? What am I tapping into? And I will tell you, without a doubt, dizziness, can't stay awake, dreams where you feel tired or attacked, or that it's so real that you feel like you can't shake the energy of it. Dropping stuff, not in sync with your body, out of sync with your body. Feeling as though electronics and things just don't want to work in your field. Any of these kind of things, I just want to say to you that we've said this before, but I'm gonna keep repeating it. Stop immediately. Stop immediately in that moment where something's going off. Stop. Call your counsel, call your team, create your 12th dimensional shield, and in that very moment, command to identify what interfering energies are overlaying into your field because they're trying to dissuade you, stop you, or distract you from what you're doing. And this is a moment where I know we might be late for work because that's the best time to distract us. I know we might be in a hurry trying to get ready. They're not stupid. If their whole goal is to distract us, they're going to pick the best times to distract us. And when we start to sit and go like, no, I am not just some earth human that's running off of this schedule. I know how to bend time. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to deal with this. And I'm still magically, everything is just going to work out the way it needs to work out today. So what we do is then we stop and we immediately command whatever energy that's coming from, and you start to attune to whatever archonic energy, whatever shadow overlay. Maybe it's reptilian energy that's overlaying over. It's usually most of the time AI. Most of the time recently, it's been more AI and just kind of like frequency targeting to just scramble our awareness within there. Dream stuff is definitely coming from other dimensional or Weezadak or parallel realities. It's a lot of times if it's dreams that are making us not feel really great about ourselves and we can't shake it in the morning, this is usually coming from another dimensional plane. This stuff can get super complicated, and I don't want to make it complicated for you guys, but there are holographic universes. There are multiple other holographic universes which don't even exist at the same frequencies of this universe. So when we tap into them, they feel super wonky. They're really off when we tap into them. And the beings that exist there are completely different in their genetics, in the operating systems, what they utilize to survive. A lot of them utilize like straight energy. And this is, where we kind of tap into that idea of luciferic energy. Is luciferic energy is about being a bearer of light, but they're not generating it from themselves. So luciferic energy many times is pulling energy from something else, like your computer right now or your phone is pulling energy from a socket in the wall, right? That's how it's maintaining. And many times we are that energy. We are that socket in the wall. So they want to survive. It's many times not even personal. And so when we start to understand this, that there is a beautiful way where we just start to catch it, but remember, call your team to be with you. As you become aware of where it's coming from, this is where you start that very similar to the clearing statement. I witness you now. Even if you don't see it, even if it's just the feeling that you're feeling compressing your chest or pressing in on your head or giving you a headache or making you dizzy, the thing is you're aware of some other energy pressing in on you, and just say, I am witnessing you now. And I do not consent. You have no right to me. You have no right to my energy. You have no right to my mind. You have no right to my body. You have no right to my light body. You have no right to any aspect of me within this 15-dimensional time matrix. And any places within any of this sphere of existence that you've ever infiltrated into any of my layers, I am commanding now the higher councils to be present now and witness origin points. Identify all locations of origin and all beings that are projecting any of these intentions that are not within my consent, that are outside of universal divine law. And in this moment, I command all of it must be pulled from me now. I ask of the higher councils to adjust all of my frequency fields in this very I am present moment of now, in order to fortify all of my frequencies so that they have no access to me. Adjust all of my frequencies so that their frequencies do not match, and kick them out of my field now, permanently and irrevocably. I hope you guys are saying this in your head right now to yourself. All of you that have been going through this, are you doing it? Okay. They're doing this for us, right? So as we begin to remove it out, we start to identify, please identify all portals, all rips, all tears, all entrance points, and all codes in my frequency that match their frequency, and permanently and irrevocably seal them and remove them now. I ask for all entities and beings that have been identified to please be pulled before the spiritual courts, and that divine law be put into place. I command this now as is my right. And so it is. And you take a deep breath. Now, in this moment, it is really our job to start to now scan through. So we have to also kind of be aware that a lot of times when we get hit or tagged by this energy, it's literally a potential way we're getting corded again, implanted again, holographic overlay, implants, seals, any of these types of things can actually tag in really quickly. It's kind of like a virus. It's kind of like something like that can just tag in really quick. So all we do is we ask of our higher self to please scan through all body systems. Please identify any places where their energy might have infiltrated into my system. Identify, locate it, remove it, and repair it. I do not consent. Now, honestly, if that's all you got time for, this is what that's what the main thing that you can do. And then you would go through and re-fortify your 12th dimensional shield again. And ideally, get your feet out into the ground, to the ground. At least if you have the ability to be in the sun, if there's something you can do to like connect to the nature kingdom very, 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 very quickly. The nature kingdom always holds the divine template. Guess what? This is why we love nature so much. They never question who they are. They never forget who they are within the divine plan. They never sit and go like, oh my God, I forgot my life's purpose. That's why we love them, because they're always holding the original divine Christic blueprint from the second dimensional elemental layer. So you go connect to them and you just reattune your energy to that nature kingdom field, and then you will find yourself click, 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 click. And then you will feel the rest of that stuff move away. And it will have to kind of detox out of your field. You'll feel it kind of move out, out, out more. And then just be mindful. Watch yourself. Have you gotten back in sync? Is your computer working again? Are you like feeling as though you can focus in a little bit more on the things that are happening within your reality? And this is really one of our tools in our toolbox. So when we have where a whole lot of us start getting hit at one time, this is where, again, we get to stop and we get to go, what's going on? What's infiltrating in? What's really happening? Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ray. And then we just breathe it out. We come back into our discernment. We come into being an ambassador. We come back into our galactic citizenship that is going to fortify our energy. When you actually start to step into your spiritual adulthood and being a galactic citizen, notice what feels different when you click into that perception of yourself. You stand taller, you feel stronger, your energy feels bigger, you feel more as though you got it. Like, okay, I see what's going on here. I'm not going to let it affect me. We actually have an ability when we step into that mind frame to pull out of the little BS in our life and start to actually get to go like, great, fine. So you hit me a couple times, you targeted me, you said some mean things to me. Do you feel better? Because, by the way, you're on the ship now to the council. So thanks for allowing me to get you that one-way ticket. And so we catch that and then we just move on. We move on. It's like our life isn't going to magically look. How do I word this? That's not quite the correct way. Let me step back and reframe this. Our interaction with the material reality isn't going to just magically change as far as how we still relate and move, or not relate, but how we move around this reality. We're going to have jobs. We're going to have physical things. We still need to feed our body. We still need to bathe our body. We still got to mow the lawn. We still got to do these things. We still got to, clean the litter box. Whatever it is that we have in our life to do, we still got to do it, right? But how do you do it as a galactic citizen that is doing it with an absolute joy that you get to experience this reality and breathe the divine into all of it? Sometimes the sewer pipe breaks. It sucks. Gross. Sometimes the toilet backs up. Sometimes there's just things we got to deal with in this reality. And when we learn how to deal with them with higher mind, we start to have a perception within our awareness that, hey, I can actually still really have fun and weave magic into how this is going to turn out. Most of the times when we have these dreams, we get dizzy, we start dropping things, we start feeling like we're stuck or we're hit by things. What's the first thing we want to do? Low energy, get depressed, and start feeling like the victim again. Like, what did I do wrong? What is hitting me? Or what is out of alignment? Or what isn't right? Or what didn't I do right? And we immediately want to get out of all of that. It's just, they're smart. Again, I cannot emphasize, they're brilliant. They know how our body, our psychology, our emotions, our subconscious works better than we do. That's why we spend so much time learning about it, figuring out where our shadows came from, figuring out our wounded inner child parts, because anytime those are still lost in our shadows, those are actual access points that they know how to poke and prod in order to get back in. And so that's why we do the work, in order to bring all of those aspects back home into our heart, so then they don't got anything to trigger us with. Again, it's kind of like that whole thing. I like just using this one when somebody comes, you see this as like a blackmail and all kinds of scenarios on this earth. It's like, oh my gosh, well, if you don't do this, oh, well, I'm going to reveal this, and this about you. Well, guess what? If you've done your shadow work, you've probably already revealed all of that already. Or you just get to this place that says, great, tell everybody. I'm looking forward to that just being out on the table. And then what? And so what we're doing is we're taking away their tools of where they've been able to manipulate us emotionally through strands of fear within us. And most of these fears, let's really be honest with ourselves, most of these fears are fears that we're not good enough, or something's wrong with us, or that we're broken. It's bullshit. We know it. It's bullshit that we are sitting here literally letting them whisper these bullies types of statements into our head, and we're sitting there going like, I know. Just can't shake it though. And then we sit and we go like, and I've screwed up my whole life. We can literally start going backwards and backwards and backwards. You just go like, and that's what they want us to do, because guess what? The longer we stay in that stream of depression and putting ourselves down and wondering what we did wrong, guess what we've just wasted? We have just wasted our consciousness and presence in the now. They pulled us out of the game. They pulled us out of being in our guardianship role, ambassadorship, and discernment. And then it's like, oh, tricky little bastards. So when we get to kind of understand that on a level, we realize we truly do have this innate power within ourselves to really be this amazing fierceness. So the gate 38, this is actually a very wonderful energy for us to work with this full moon. It is the gate 38 is the gate of the fighter. It's a Capricorn energy. This Capricorn energy of the fighter is about being the warrior of light. So if you do have the Gene Keys book, by all means, I would invite you to get in there and read the Gate 38 for this time. The shadow of this is struggle. It's really about gosh, we were just working with this with our shadow work. I gave an example for myself that I had a belief that if my life wasn't difficult and I didn't struggle enough, then I wasn't cool, or I didn't fit in, or I didn't have the best misery story at the table, right? So this is the shadow of the Gate 38. The Gate 38 starts to feel disempowered because many times it doesn't know what to struggle for, what to fight for, what is my purpose, what am I here for. And so there is usually a disconnect with where we are in our alignment, which then starts to make life feel like a struggle. Isn't that what a lot of us have been feeling a little bit in these last few days leading up to this energy? And it starts to build in here. And then we know these lunar forces would then want to hijack onto that, because it really stops us in our tracks. It really kind of maybe puts us a few steps backwards. And so then we get to clear that really quick. And guess what? Now we are all back on track for this full moon. And we are able to be the true guardians as this really washes over the consciousness of humanity. Because the gift of the Gate 38 is perseverance. It's about not getting knocked down by these little things along the way, so that we actually find the way to feel the higher purpose in all of it. So we enact this through this perseverance, that we start to see obstacles as truly a way to actually bring humanity together. That it's not a fight that we're meant to fight by ourselves, but it's a fight where, if we want to look at it as this perspective of it being the fighter, the Gate 38, the fighter, the warrior of light, that we're not being an army of one. We are really unifying again on a massive scale level to our galactic families. And that as we unify this within there, that the city is honor. And what are we honoring? I would say on a base level, we're honoring Christ consciousness. We are honoring our Christic family. We are honoring our Blu-ray path. That it's not about fighting for fighting, and it's really not about fighting, but it's just the word, it's the name of this gate. So we can acclimate to that word within our heart, and we can remember ourselves as these warriors of light, that wherever we struggle and we feel like we're struggling in vain, it just means that we need to realign our alignments, realign what our purpose is, realign on a really profound way. Primarily, and this is just my perspective, but you guys can really kind of tap into this. Most of the times, it just means realigning out of my ego and back in alignment to my higher self. Most struggle comes from seeing things from way down here. Whereas we get into higher mind, and all of a sudden, a lot of the static just starts to dissipate. And as we get to continue with this energy, now we understand there's a lot of work that's been going on the planet since as early this year. Oh my gosh, we're already in July, you guys. That the 10th Stargate has been a massive reclamation point. We talked a bit about Kauai last time. That's the 12th Stargate. We also have that is connected to France. I don't know if you're following what's going on the planet right now, but France is just a massive chaotic field right now. France, the Magdalene energies, the Mary energies, right? Our sacred divine feminine energies. There's a lot of massive, powerful grid points within there. And it actually is one of the alignment points to Kauai or the Hawaiian Islands. So the 12th Stargate energies. And so as we're watching this, we're sitting there going like, oh my gosh, some of these topics are so uncomfortable. But what we're watching the world fight for right now is on the deepest level, we're fighting for our right to have divine sexuality. It has nothing to do with preference of who we choose to love. What it is it's about having the right to honor the body we're in. And this transhumanism project that is fully being pushed by the AI is literally attacking our children. Who are they targeting? They're not trying to talk to you right now. They couldn't give a hoot about you. They're like, yeah. You do you. Who are they targeting? They're going to the schools. They're targeting our children because our children are our genome, our Akashic library. They are our future. And if they can disconnect them from their divine humanity inside themselves, it is the Aeoni massacres all over again. This, my dear soul family, is what we are the warriors of light for. The sacredness of being human, the sacredness of our divine hieros gamos within ourselves. So as we get to tap into this vibrational energy within there, we can see how powerful this full moon is that we can work with at this time. And as we clear our energy, fortify our fields, reconnect to our family lines, I definitely want to, there's two things I want to add for just some energy that's coming up. And then I want to share a practice through the vibration of Sekhmet for us to complete with today. There's two things I want to touch on. I did want to touch on this vibrational energy of trapped souls. There was a question in the Kristalla planetary telegram, and it was about working with a lot of the native or the trapped souls, or working even with animal energy. And so within this, again, when we're working with the grid work on the land, that the primary energy we want to honor first of all is the ancestors' energy, those that have been remaining behind many times. A lot of our indigenous families, Native American families, tribal families, who hold within their storyline their purpose of being guardians for the land, that many times when war, trauma, or things have kicked them off of the land or taken their land from them, or where they have witnessed the land being used out of sacred law, it creates a fierceness in them. It creates an energy where they don't really trust us. They don't trust others around. They don't feel as though anyone is truly honoring the land. And so it gets a little tricky. We can't just march in going like, I'm going to help. Here we are again. The little helpers again, right? We're just going to come in and we're going to change it all. And a lot of times we'll get in there and we'll find actually the first wall of resistance are the guardians on the spirit realm that have been guarding the land. And so our first energy is truly to connect with them. And once we connect with them, my number one most powerful tool to do this is actually to drop all of your shields. Now, remember, if you are Christ consciousness, you don't have to worry about anything harming you, okay? So what you're doing is you're actually dropping all of your ego. You're dropping all of your personality shields. And you're stripping yourself fully transparent and bare into your soul Akashic signature. And when you just acknowledge yourself as that soul Akashic signature, this is how I do it. I literally will come into the land and I will bow low. I will put my hands upon the earth. I will bow low. And I will say, I honor you and I acknowledge your role you have played for this land. I come fully transparent and bare. I show you all of who I am as a star walker. I am not of this earth, but I have returned to this earth in order to be of service. And so as you get to say this, you can say it any way you want. You're really letting them see your entire Akashic field. That there is nothing to hide. There's nothing you need to hide. Full transparency. Show them your galactic signature. And that you have come as an emissary of this energy in order to merge to this earth to be in service to all of the guardians who have been working for so long, and you are here now to be an assistance to them. And so when you hold this energy, this is the experience I have, especially with Native American energy. When I first start to connect to the land, usually the very first beings that show up are the male warriors, and they are usually quite profound, quite forceful in the sense of stopping. Who are you? What are you doing? And I have to first present myself to them. And then once you present yourself to them, the energy of it is that you're showing them who you are. And here's the thing. All indigenous tribes on the planet know they are from the stars and they are seeded from the stars. And so when they acknowledge you as a star walker, you are now the one they have been waiting for. Okay? So now as you allow them to see you, you are then presenting yourself, but I invite you always to keep that humble head, hands, heart to the ground, to the earth. Even if you're standing, it's still just this level of a true leader is a servant to their people. If you can keep that in mind, a true royal being is a servant to those that they are guiding. So now, as you imagine this, usually what happens then is they begin to see the transparency. What happens next is then you will be allowed generally to see whomever was the leader. It'll either be a matriarchal system or a patriarchal system. A lot of the indigenous tribes are one or the other of both. Most of the ones we are drawn to work with will be matriarchal systems because that's the true divine blueprint. Patriarchal ones are a little bit more tricky, but we do step in. So when you work with them, then usually who you're then presented to is a divine feminine ancestor woman, it's not usually the shaman of it, but one of this very powerful divine feminine figure, and you will be with them for a bit. But you know you are in when you are finally allowed to be fully emitted with all of them, and you will find yourself surrounded by the women and the children. You're not in until they let the kids come play with you. Bottom line. It happens like that every single time that I've ever done this work. You'll more than likely first encounter the warriors, those that are wanting to flush you out. And if you truly, through the transparency of your heart, open yourself fully and completely, you will find yourself usually little kids climbing on you, pulling on your hair, giggling and playing. And then remember, we're not doing this work alone. I asked the kids to help me. And so now you call upon all the children of the land to begin to show you all, take you to all the sacred places. They'll show you everything. They'll open records all the way back in time. They will show you layers and layers and layers. And they will have so much fun, and you will feel the giggling in. And as they show you all of these things, you're holding your galactic maturity within this. And then what you do is you find the parameters of where you then begin to create the vortex, where you begin to now create the sacred transit place for all souls to return home. And the children will help you move the energy. And they'll show you whatever it is you need to see. If it's injured animal energy, if it's injured plant energy, if it's something that was done by some historical timeline, maybe some invasion groups or this or that, or spills. Sometimes they'll want to show you chemical spills. They'll want to show you different things. If you start to be shown that stuff, remember your tools. Pyramids, shungite. Pyramids and shungite will help clear that radiation energy off of the land, so you can begin to place the appropriate things upon the land however you are guided, and then call in the galactics, call in the galactics, call in the guardian dragons, call in the divine ancestral guardian spirits. And as you do, they will again fortify this energetic field for you in the most beautiful way. And that is one of the most beautiful ways to actually do energy work when you're traveling, when you're guided certain places, is to connect. Now, I will tell you, for those of you on the East Coast, I did quite a bit of energy work when I was in Virginia. And interestingly enough, when you start to tap into the indigenous tribes there, I was pulled to Africa. Okay. So that was a tremendous experience. Talk about being honored to get pulled into some places that were really root chakra energy on the earth. And also, this was long before I knew about the Irmas, and the Leonite was really adept with any of the galactic stuff. So, it just really lined up. So we want to just kind of remember, there is a lot of times not an understanding why different groups of beings gather at different timelines and places. And we might want to say, oh, it's because of, these horrible things that happened in history. Or are they now being the guardians of that land? Virginia has some very, very powerful, Virginia down to North Carolina, and even into South Carolina. There are massive vortexes there that anchor energy for the streams of energy that move down those beautiful mountains, the ridge that goes down there and then leads off into Florida, where the Sarasota, the crystalline waters are, right? So we can see a lot of our soul circle is actually anchored in these very specific places. And as that energy goes down, I will actually have to find it again. This is something I came across in this really beautiful book about sacred waters. And I apologize, I don't have the name in my head, but there's a very particular place within Florida that actually symbolizes it as being one of the most, not the most, but another one of the very sacred water bodies that I think is actually a table. It's kind of more under, it's not quite on the surface. So as we get to see these different ways in which we work with things, please don't be surprised with who pops up. Our bloodlines have moved all over the place. So especially don't be surprised if you meet a lot of, say, the Denisovian or the Inuit tribes in different places, because they are very, 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 very widely spread in different places. And we can start to kind of see that amazing connection to their wisdom. So that is just something I wanted to share in there. So I want to just take a couple minutes and just share, I know we're at time, this one last little thing with Sekhmet. So one of the wisdom Sekhmet was bringing forward for us today is to not forget the power of the fire in the belly. So as we're working with that rhythm, again, that rhythm where we're creating that in-breath and that out-breath within, this is another visualization that you could actually work with the Tonglen if you wanted to. You could somehow maybe weave it in there in some way, shape, or form. But that as you start to feel any challenges, maybe it is that you want to bring Sekhmet in as a powerful energy to be with you while you are commanding to some of these infiltrated or archonic energies and saying, I do not consent. Maybe first you connect to this energy as you do this. And as you do, part of this vibration is to imagine, sense, and feel all of you coming into yourself. And it's so funny because even just starting to tap into her, I'm literally burning right now. I just got so hot. It's a really warm energy to work with.
You got flushed.
I did.
You're pink.
So as we bring this energy in, it's an influx of energy. The fire in the belly isn't about just fierceness, or I'm going to fight, or I'm just going to consume and eat and take charge of whatever it is that I want to destroy. That is not it at all. Remember, Sekhmet is one of the most ancient divine beings that reminds us of the connection to the cosmic powers, the Kundalini powers, the full cosmic fire and breath that moves through us, that is the living breath of all creation. And so she houses within such a powerful energy that unless you acclimate yourself to it or be within her, it's almost as though we get invited into her so she helps us hold it, then we actually begin to move this massive plasma of energy through us that has the ability to begin to just burn out anything and everything that does not serve us right through the body. Now, here's one practice I'm going to just give you guys to work with for the next few days. There is one practice which is we're just going to call it the rewind. I'm going back. And what this is at the end of the day, or if you get hit by something and you can stop for a moment, what you want to do is you want to go into your breath. Call in the vibration of Sekhmet to be present within you within this time that you choose to step into the belly of fire in order to begin to allow the cosmic fire to be that which guides and directs that which is correct and removes anything that is not in the highest benefit for your Christ family purpose. And what this is it's very much like, it's a little bit like Tonglen in the fact that we get to kind of connect to something and see what energy's around it. But really what we're doing is we're rewinding. So let's use it as an example at the end of the day. Say you're in bed. What you would do is you would take a few minutes and just say, I was just in my bathroom. I was just brushing my teeth. I was just taking my clothes off. I was just putting my pajamas on. I was just in the kitchen putting the dishes in the dishwasher. I was just checking all the doors. So what you're doing is you're literally rewinding your day all the way back to the very moment when you woke up. Okay? And so you just sit and you go you just keep going through it. And before that I was doing this, and before that I was doing that, and before this I was doing this. If you're very visual, you'll find yourself being able to kind of almost watch your day as if it was a movie that you were watching on rewind. Just move backwards. If you can do that, it's a little hard to do, but if you can do it, go for it. And now what you're doing is, if you get to any places where there was a challenge, where you felt yourself maybe hit by something, if you felt yourself emotionally triggered by something, if you felt yourself inundated with something that we would think of as a shadow energy or something that was not in our highest good, sit with it for a moment and then utilize the divine belly of fire to breathe it in and to transmute it fully and completely out of your body. Now, here's why we're doing it through our body, because remember, we're going through a rewind through our day. So whatever we hit that maybe wasn't a good moment for us, where we got emotionally hit by something, now we're going back and we're realizing, oh my gosh, that's still stuck in my body. So now we're utilizing that energy to breathe it and to purify all of our circuits in our body, to clear it out. And then we just keep going. And you make your way all the way back to the moment when you first woke up. Now you can use this again in a shorter version if something just kind of hits you, where you sit there for a moment and you rewind to right before that energy threw you out of your highest awareness. There is kind of another humor to this that you could use, that you could rewind it back to the last moment that you were being mindful. This is tricky. And I don't want to add too many things as far as practices, but being mindful means, like, how mindful can you be? Like, I'm watching myself. I'm watching myself grab some paper. I'm watching myself talk to you guys. I'm watching myself be here in this chair, and I'm watching myself be fully present as a human in this body. And so there's a way in which we can be mindful. And then all of a sudden something will happen. The phone will ring, a text will ding, something will happen. And then we'll be like, oh, ooh, guess what? You just fell asleep. Mindfulness just stopped. The moment we get distracted by this, unless you were able to literally grab your phone going like, oh, I'm mindfully hearing a ding, I'm mindfully picking up my phone, I'm mindfully looking at this email. There's literally like a whole level to which we get mindful. And then sometimes we just get pulled into the dream of this life and we start living it. And the next thing we know, we're cooking dinner and we're going like, oh my gosh, I haven't been mindful since I was at work breathing a while ago. And so think of those now as the moments when you're falling asleep. And then when you wake back up is when you are, oh, that's right, mindfulness. So now you could imagine that the moment you get hit by something, you could rewind to the last moment that you were mindful, to be able to catch something and then move forward again. And that as you get to work with this energy, that this vibration of Sekhmet, breathing in and let yourself just click in to her power, to her grace, to that vibration, and begin to just let yourself surrender to the invitation of being invited into that belly. It's almost as though in some meditations with Sekhmet, it's this image that she swallows you and you are now in her belly, and that when she swallows you, you are in her belly, and that from her fire you become one with her. And then you let yourself be this breath, and you will feel a beautiful new way to be fierce and compassionate all at the same time. That's one of the most beautiful things I love about working with Sekhmet. It is this beautiful energy of how we be fierce, how we be powerful, how we be the full radiance, our sexual energy, our divine energy, our creative energy, our passionate energy for living life. And at the same time, love, compassion, nurturing. So much love to each and every one of you. I am absolutely so honored to share this time with you.